Hi there guys, my name is Jacob and welcome back to the channel. Now in today's video I am going to go through with you my solar stats for the month of May, and I will also share later in the video my energy costs for the month. So that includes electricity, gas, transport costs, and also how much I earned from exporting energy to the grid. And I'll give you a total roundup for the month of what I either spent or earned. And, with everything going up at the moment, and by everything, I mean, fuel prices, the energy price cap in the UK is set to go up in just about a month's time. So that means electricity prices and gas prices are going to go up. There's never really been a better time in my mind to have a solar panel and battery system installed at your own home. And the reason for that is with everything going up at the moment, my system protects me from those increased costs. And as I said, when I share my costs later in the video, you'll see why. Because with everything going up, you would imagine my bills would go up, but that has not happened. And as I said, the reason for that is because I have a solar panel and battery system. And the way that works, it protects me from all those increased prices. And because of that, I would honestly say it is one of the best bits of money I have ever spent. Now, before I get into the stats, I just want to say a big thank you to everyone who has been watching my channel lately. I've had a lot of increased views lately on certain videos. Not entirely sure why that is. I guess the YouTube algorithm is just helping me out a little bit. But I just want to say a massive thank you if you've liked or subscribed to my channel. And also a couple of you have even reached out to ask me how you can support the channel, which is obviously very kind of you. And so I just want to basically say, if anybody wants to support my channel, you can go down in the description box of this video and there are a few links that you can use. One of them is a buy me a coffee link, which is basically just like a donation link. And obviously if you wanted to buy me a coffee, I would be incredibly grateful. You can also switch your energy provider to Optimisers Energy. I'll get £50, you'll get £50. And there's also an Axel referral link. I'll talk about Axel later in the video, but basically if you use my link, I'll get £25 and you'll get £25. So, a lot of the ways you can help my channel, you'll also help yourself too. So if any of those sound appealing to you, then as I said, go down into the description box of the video and click on one of those links. Thank you in advance. Right then, let's move on to the solar stats for the month. Now, as many of you know, I have 13 solar panels on my semi-detached roof. That equates to 8 on the back, which is south facing, and 5 on the side, which is mostly east facing. And for the month of May, my total generation was 782 kilowatt hours. Now that was a really good figure for the month. I'll be honest, May started out pretty slow. The first couple of weeks were just a pretty average month, nothing particularly spectacular. However, as the month went on, the days seemed to just get better and better. And the final 2 weeks of May really made up for that slow start to the month. And ultimately, I managed to beat April's total, which of course is a good thing. However, we didn't quite beat last May, so May of 2025. Looking at what I've got written down, April 2025 was around 3% better because we ended up getting 803 kilowatt hours for the month of May in 2025. So 782 was a really, really good month, but just slightly down on last year. But I'm really happy with that. I think that's, basically on par with last year. And it's really starting to pick up now. The first few months of the year were way down on last year. But as I say, just 3% down is basically the same as last year. So I'm really happy with that. Now, the best day of the month was the 24th of May, and I managed to achieve 38.5 kilowatt hours for the day. Now that, for my system, is phenomenal. So I'm really happy with that. The worst day was the 16th. Although it really wasn't that bad. The worst day, I managed to get 13 kilowatt hours generated. So again, as a worst day of the month, I am really happy with that. In previous months have gone by, if you've been watching my videos, you'll know that the worst day normally gets around 1 kilowatt hour, which is just an awful day. But there were none of those months in May. As I said, the worst was 13 kilowatt hours. So you really can't complain about that. Now, across the whole month, my panels have got Tigo Optimisers fitted to them. So across the whole month, those Optimisers saved me 10.5 kilowatt hours. So without the Optimisers, those 10 kilowatt hours would have just been lost due to shading and clouding that affects the panels. So again, a small saving, but nevertheless, I'm happy with that. Now, I got my system installed in January of 2025, and it was actually on the 22nd of January. So since then, my system has generated a total of 8 megawatt hours. I've just ticked over 8 megawatt hours. So that, to me, I think is a phenomenal figure when you think about I've basically had the system about 18 months. 8 megawatt hours, it's a lot of energy, that is, when you think about it. And that is just from one semi-detached roof. You know, you just think how much power could be generated if everybody had solar panels on their roofs. It's amazing really how much power can be generated from just 13 panels in quite a short amount of time. But I personally think that's a really impressive figure. Right then, let's move on to energy costs for the month of May. Now, my electricity costs include the standing charge. It includes everything I've bought from the grid, whether that's at the peak rate or the off-peak rate. And it also includes my EV charging as well. So it's important to factor all that in. But for the month of May, I spent a total, and I don't know how this has happened, but exactly £40, buying energy from the grid for the month. Now, that was buying 253 kilowatt hours for the entire month, and I would say 99% of that would have been at the cheap off-peak rate, which currently for me, I'm on Octopus Go, so that is at 8.6 pence per kilowatt hour. But I'm pretty happy with that. You know, £40, that, as I said, that includes all my electric costs plus charging my EV. You know, I used to spend probably double that a month just purely buying diesel for my old car, but obviously now I've got the EV. I've got written down here, roughly £9 of that £40 figure is charging my EV to do all the miles that I needed to do in the month of May. So, you know, just what a saving. Just switching from a diesel to an EV has been an incredible saving. But of course, being able to run that EV on cheap electricity overnight, again, just a huge saving and another massive benefit to having this system. Now, my gas costs for the month were just £14.15. Now, as I've said many times in my videos, gas for me is just central heating and heating hot water for showers. We don't cook on gas or anything like that. So it's a very limited use, especially in the month of May. We obviously don't have the central heating on. So yeah, very small cost. And that figure again includes the standing charge. So, you know, a very small amount of that is actually what we used. Now, of course, the best figure of the month is always the export income. And that is what my solar panels generated and then sent to the grid rather than me actually using that power. And in the month of May, I exported 716 kilowatt hours, which resulted in a payment of £85.95. So a really, really good figure for the month. It was slightly down on April's figure, which I think was around the £94 mark. But ultimately, I'm still happy with that. £85.95. So that's what Octopus ultimately will pay me for the energy. So not what I pay them, what they pay me. And that is one of the massive benefits of a solar panel and battery system. Now, I also participate in Axel Energy events, and what that is basically Axel are a virtual power plant company. They pay you to export your battery to the grid when the grid needs that energy most. Now, Axel run around 3 or 4 sessions a month normally, but unfortunately in the month of May, they actually only ran 2. So it was the worst month I've had with Axel. But the amazing thing is, they pay you £1 per kilowatt hour. So, you know, you really can't beat that figure with anything else. Octopus pay me 12 pence per kilowatt hour. Axel pay £1. So it's a huge margin and worthwhile taking part in every event they run. And across the 2 events that I participated in May, I earned £7.60. which is a pretty good figure. I'm pretty happy with that. However, Axel guarantees that you earn £10 in a month. So because I actually didn't earn £10, they will top that £7.60 up to £10, which is amazing, really. And, you know, I don't know how long they're going to do this for, but that is something that they currently guarantee. So I will ultimately get £10 for the month of May. So that is on top of my export income, because Octopus also pay me 12 pence for the same energy that I am sending to the grid when I'm sending it through Axel. So really I'm getting £1.12 for every kilowatt I send in those Axel sessions. So it is really lucrative. Now, if you're not part of Axel at the moment, as I said, I've got a link in the description box. Consider signing up. There is about 6 or 7 different battery types, or battery brands, should I say, that they currently accept. GivEnergy is one of them. I know Fogstar Energy is one. Solax and Solis, those are different ones. There's a couple of extra ones. So if you have any of those batteries, as I say, consider signing up if you haven't already. You'll get a £25 bonus just for signing up if you use my link. And that is obviously on top of anything that you will earn through using your battery in these events. So it's well worth signing up for. And you know, every little helps when it comes to covering the cost of your system and, of course, covering your energy bills every month. So if you want to sign up to Axel, as I said, use the link below. Now, if we total up everything I spent in May and then obviously everything I earned in May, we get a total of a credit to my account of £41.80. So after everything is paid for, Octopus are ultimately going to owe me £31.80 and Axel will pay me the extra £10, totaling £41.80. So that's the profit for the month from, as I said, having my solar panels and batteries. And I'm really happy about that. May is normally a really good month. Obviously, last year, I actually beat that figure by quite a lot. But of course, last year, we were earning 15 pence per kilowatt hour sent to the grid. With it being 12 pence, that obviously makes a bit of a dent in this year's export income. But Axel is kind of topping that up a little bit and making up the difference. So I'm not too worried about that. How exporting income is going to look in the future is a little bit up in the air. I'm not quite sure whether that's going to stay at 12 pence or whether it will come down over time. Obviously, with energy bills currently on the increase, you might think that it might go up, but I'm not quite sure how much that's going to affect things long term. I think the whole Iran war is probably just going to be a short term thing, maybe 6 to 12 months. And then maybe prices will kind of even out or come back down again. Obviously, I'm just guessing. Who knows at this point? We have no idea how long it's going to last for. But for now, I would say 12 pence is probably going to be sticking around for a while, I would imagine. So I'm pretty happy with that anyway. If you have a system like myself, let me know down in the comments how your system, how it performed in the month of May. Let me know if you covered all your energy bills, if you had a better export income than I did. And if you signed up with Axel, let me know how you did in the events that you took part in as well. I'd be really interested to know. And of course, if you do use any of the links in the description box of this video, comment and let me know what you use so I can thank you for, of course, using my links. Right then, guys, I'll leave it there. If you enjoyed this video, please consider hitting the like button and the subscribe button because it really does help my small channel. And if you made it this far, I just want to say a big thank you. Guys, I will catch you in the next one.